talk a little bit more about sports culture. Something on Twitter, someone wanted to know, where are the athletes in this conversation? Well, you've come to the right table. We have them here. Let's start with introductions. First, Richard Collignon, St. Louis University, studies sports sociology. Also with us, John Rolland. You're a parent and the son of an NFL player and the parent of a current football player.
Correct.
And also with us, Grant Boyd, an athlete himself, a hockey player, a lifelong hockey player with a few injuries and the scars to show for it.
Yes, sir.
Can we talk about why it would seem to be a little counterintuitive to put your head in danger, but people do it and we like to watch it? Why is that?
I think it's because of the love of the game, the love of the sport. Football has been in my family since I've been born.
Yeah.
My dad played football and baseball in high school. He grew up in Texas. You know, Texas, football is pretty much a religion in Texas. And he was recruited by University of Missouri, played at Missouri. I've loved it my entire life. When I got older and had kids of my own, both of my kids are athletes. I have a daughter who's a swimmer and water polo player, and my son is multi-sport player. Right now he's a football player for Oakville High School in South County. And he loves the sport. He loves being outside. He loves team activities, team bonding. He likes the activity.
And we've talked a lot about the injuries. We talked about the head injuries obviously tonight. Are there what's the upside
to sports?
To sports, yeah.
I mean, I think the values that you learn from sports are completely unparalleled. What they teach us, the carryover that they have later in life, what they teach us about dealing with others, things like that, that while you're putting yourself in harm's way, you're also getting valuable life lessons that are helping you down the road and teaching you things that are irreplaceable.
But did it hurt?
It absolutely, there's definitely times when it hurts, but it's almost like the willing to be hurt for a group of guys or a team. That there's something almost heroic about it. It's that the kind of culture is that when someone does get hurt and gets back up and fights through it, it's almost kind of like they're idolized. And someone who doesn't, it's almost like they're villainized.
Can you break that down for us?
Well, I think Grant's got a point here where, as a parent, you want your child to be put in a situation where they meet challenges. Challenges are important, lifelong of learning. You also want to learn discipline. That the classical reason for sports is build character, discipline. You want something outside the home that disciplines the child and teaches the child self-confidence. And that self-confidence is supposed to translate into later life and accomplishments. Getting knocked down, getting back up, and pursuing the challenge.
Have you ever had a concussion?
I have, about 3 concussions. One was pretty mild. There was one that was decent enough to where I didn't realize I had it at first, where I had my feet kicked out and hit my head on the back of the ice. Got up and everything felt like it was kind of deja vu. And then I would forget portions of my shifts. When I come off the ice, I couldn't remember what happened. And I didn't realize it was happening at the time. And I would look up and I still thought the score was like 3-1. And I remember looking to one of my teammates and saying, hey, we're still up 3-1 in the first period. And the first period was about to be over and it was 5-2. And so concussions are a weird thing. It's hard to recognize.
And was the conversation we're having tonight prevalent in the circles you were competing in?
We were certainly cognizant of that at any moment you could get blindsided or hit and you would end up with a concussion. As far as what that would mean for how you were going to play, it was kind of went player by player. Some people would try to hide it because you never wanted to be taken out of the game, especially if you were someone who was relied upon by the team. You wanted to make sure that you never let your team down, that any time that they called your name to be on that ice, that you were on the ice. And then there were players who made it better known, and would sit out, and they might be better in the long run for that. But at the time being, the ones who went back in the game were the ones who the coaches relied upon.
John, is that something is this conversation or a concern your dad ever expressed, or one that you ever had for a son playing football or any other contact sport?
Primarily being a parent and watching your kid play a contact sport, it's something that is always in the forefront of your mind. You see them out, you see them developing, you see a play developing, you see something happen, and whether it's your child or a friend of yours, if they're slow to get up, you wonder, is everything okay? And it's always something that sticks in the back of your mind. Are they going to be okay when they stand back up? Every time my son straps on his helmet, my wife and I are sitting in the stands and we're praying after every down that he's okay. He's had a couple of concussions. Knock on wood, neither of the concussions that he's had have come from playing football. He's had other injuries. I agree with my colleagues here have said, as far as team sports are concerned, one of the things that I think that it teaches you is you're not just a body of one out there. Everybody's got a little different job to do. It teaches you camaraderie. It teaches you teamwork. And also, if somebody is down and they have sustained a concussion, they need to report it. They need to tell the coach. They need to tell the trainer. They need to tell someone.
But if you're praying after every down, are you ever tempted to just take them out of the sport or say that's enough? Or wish you wouldn't have let them play in the first place?
No, I would never say I wish that he never would have played. We have been very fortunate that the coaches that both of my kids have all, the first thing that they taught was how to play their game safely. Second thing that they taught was when you're playing against an opponent who is not playing safely, how to protect yourself. So now I would never consider pulling him out just because of my feeling, but my son's also very in tune with his own body. He knows when he has come to a particular limit and he will pull himself out.
They're praying that nothing happens. A lot of people are tuning in hoping something happens. We go to car races to see the crashes, a lot of people say. We have highlight reels of the top 10 biggest hits in whatever sport it might be. What does that say about us, and is that contributing to the problem, do you think, or making things worse?
Well, I think Grant touched on an interesting point. There is a way in which young men learn gender. I mean, this is a particular argument that I would have, and that you learn to work with other men, the camaraderie, you learn codes, what it is you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to act, how you're supposed to put yourself at risk and not be afraid. And so you do have this kind of attraction, but what we're starting to see, I suspect, is a difference between those who participate and those who watch. And so the culture of violence that we have, it's much more, let's say, upper middle class audiences. You start to see a separation between those who are participating in the most violent sports like boxing or some contact sports like basketball and the audience. And so you start to see an attraction that Americans have to watch this, not necessarily participate.
And of course.